Okay, welcome to a tutorial on how to set up an Omega Masternode here. I'm going to be showing you how to use a Windows local wallet and then a remote Linux VPS to set up and get your Masternode running. So let's get started here. First thing you want to do is get the wallet downloaded. So you can go to omegacoin.network and get your wallet for Windows by clicking Get It Now and going to their GitHub repo. And in the GitHub repo, we can just download the version of the wallet that we want, 32 and 64-bit. After we get that set up, you can just run that setup file and get it installed into the directory that you want. Once that is up, you will see your Omega wallet show up here. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll most likely see a status bar that'll show you how far along the wallet is to syncing with the blockchain. So you'll have to give it some time to sync. And while you do that, we can set up some quick options on the wallet itself to get things rolling. And so first, if you want to go to settings, and usually I will encrypt my wallet and set a password for that wallet. So your wallet is encrypted and no one can access it without knowing that password. And secondly, if we go into our options here, I will go to Wallet and enable Coin Control Features and also Show Masternodes tab. Once you click OK, you'll be able to see your masternodes here. I had one running before, but I'm going to be running completely from a stopped masternode with just 1,000 coins and getting going kind of from the get-go here. So I turned everything off. I'm not receiving any awards or rewards from the masternode that I had going. So hopefully we'll just have everything running from a bare standstill here. So once you get your wallet and start syncing it, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner when it does sync that there is a processed blocks here, and then once the check mark is there, you can tell that everything is synced up and ready to rock. So you're going to need to get some Omega coins. So the best place to do that, I think, is to go over to southexchange.com and purchase your coins with some Bitcoin from here. You'll be able to go into markets here and go down to Omega. And then you can go ahead and buy your Omega or sell it from here as well when you get rewards. So go ahead and get that all set up, and once you have 1,000, maybe you're going to need just a little bit over 1,000 coins to get the masternode set up due to fees with transactions. So if you can go ahead and get that set up, 1,002 or something like that coins, then you should be fine. And then what you'll want to do next is go ahead and set up a address in your wallet here. Once everything is synced up, go to receive, and you can create a new address here for receiving your 1,000 plus coins. You can create a label so that you can organize your different addresses and know kind of what your whole addresses are for, since it's good to use a address every single time that you do a transaction. Just create a new address. And so once you set that label up, and you don't really need an amount or a message even, it'll just create a label here, and then you can double click on it and show it, and it should show it right away as far as your receiving address. So go ahead and copy that, and you can just hit copy address here. And then you'll want to go in here to your wallets in South Exchange, set up a withdrawal, and put your amount in here, and then the address to send to would go here. And then you can go ahead and send that over to your wallet. Once your local wallet has that 1,000 coins, we'll go ahead and set up our VPS and get that rolling as well. So Now you're all set with your local wallet and your 1,000+ coins. I've got 1,002 right now, so we should be ready to rock to set up our Masternode. And so there is also a handy article that I will link to in the description of the video that does have a great description on how to do all this stuff from just a article here in Medium. Thanks to Lucas for getting that all set up here. So go ahead and take a read over this if you get stuck. So we have a fully synced wallet installed. We have our 1,000 coins, hopefully. Next, we're going to use a VPS to set up an Ubuntu server. So I like to do a VULTR server here. So what we can do next is go ahead and open up a VULTR account if you don't have one. I've got a link in the description as well for my referral code here for that. So if you use that, that would certainly help me out. But just hit the plus to deploy a new server. You can go ahead and deploy one. I'm going to use Seattle, so I'm out in Colorado. This is my closest location. And then we're going to use Ubuntu 16.04. The shell script that we're going to be running here in a minute to set things up, which is down here. This shell script recommends using 16.04 as your version of Ubuntu. So you should be fine with the $5 a month plan, which is just one CPU and a gig of memory and a terabyte of bandwidth a month. You can add other features like auto backups or DDoS protection, or you can also add SSH keys. If you don't know what an SSH key is, I would highly suggest learning how to use those since they do help secure your server for remote logins and stuff like that. So go ahead and hit deploy now, and that'll deploy. We'll give it a couple minutes to deploy, and then once that is set up, we'll log into our server and we'll get going here. Okay, now that our server is installed and up and running, we're going to go ahead and click on it. When you click on your server, you may be able to also change the label, and that's just whatever name you want it to show up in the dashboard here. When you look at servers here, you can just change that label real quick so you can see exactly what it is. So that's the label here. But we're going to go ahead and get logged in and get the preliminary dependencies installed for the Masternode to run on the server. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to need to log in via SSH, and here's the username for root and the password as well. So you can go ahead and use whatever SSH client that you like to use. I like to use WinSCP, which looks like this. We can go up here and manage our sites, make a new one here, and you're going to need your username is going to be root, password, copy that, and then the IP address is right here, so we're going to need that as well. So password, and then the IP address. And then once we log in here, it's going to ask you, because you haven't been in here before, doesn't recognize it, so if you hit yes, it'll connect and add that to the cache for the keys. So now we are in the root folder of our VPN, or VPS. You can see that here. You can go up to the absolute base of the whole drive, and this is where all of the folders for your Linux installation reside. But to launch a PuTTY instance, you can just click on this little icon with two monitors and a lightning bolt between it, which will open up the same kind of instance of PuTTY for that server. So it's going to give you again that the server's host key is not it's not cached in the registry. Do you want to put it in? Say yes. And then it's going to show this black window as a root into this IP address as the root user. So you're going to need your password again from VULTR here. That password. We'll go back to PuTTY. And then when you're in PuTTY and you have like a cursor active, you can just right click to paste whatever was in your clipboard at the time. And now you see that we have some packages that can be updated, and I have logged in as the root of this account or this server. So you can hit ls to list the files and folders in that specific directory. And if you want to actually get into the root here, just like we were looking at from WinSCP, all of these folders and such, you will see in the PuTTY once you're in your actual root here. So we can see all those there, match up with these, cool. So then, following the guide, we're going to be using a shell script to install everything. So let me resize this. All right, so we've got this guy here. Oop. Come on. There we are. Okay, so we're connected to our VPS through PuTTY. We're going to pretty much just snatch this whole thing here. Let's just make sure that we are in our user directory. To make sure that you are changed to your user directory at all times, you can always just hit cd space tilde, I believe is what that's called, and that will just make sure that you're in the root directory. So the root directory is the directory that's labeled root in here when you're in SCP. You want to make sure that you're in this root directory, and that is like the user directory for the root user. So go ahead and paste in this command here, and that will get the Omega shell script from GitHub. And then we are going to change some file permissions real quick on that by copying this guy. And then we are going to run that script by running this guy. And it says, would you like to install all the needed dependencies? This is a bare install of Linux. You're going to want to hit yes. And it's going to go through and install all of the dependencies and set up everything for the master node. So you're going to watch this kind of go through and install all of the dependencies here, and it will take a little bit of time to do this, and then it'll ask you a few more questions here. So while we wait for that to get installed, I'll just show you a couple other quick links that might help you. Obviously, masternodes.online is going to let you get into the Discord server. Definitely hop in there and say hi to everybody, and you can always ask people if you have questions and things like that in that Discord server. And then if you want to go to one of the exchanges, you can also purchase the Omega coin not only on South Exchange but also on CryptoBridge and Crex24, which appears is not available in the United States. So, and then you can go to their Bitcoin Talk page here with the announcements link and see all the stuff here about it and all of those lovely things. There is a really cool block explorer that shows masternodes. You can take a look at your masternode and do things like that from here, and the address is omega.overemo.com. So if you go there, you can look at the block explorer. There is a regular block explorer as well, but I like this one a little better just because it has the masternodes tab and things like that. So definitely get that checked out. And then the other thing you might be interested in is, since we're kind of waiting for everything to install, is if you don't want to use VULTR, you can also use DigitalOcean. It's very similar, and I'll put a link for that as well in the description. But they're nice because they have a really simple kind of interface and everything, and I believe that if you use the referral link that I have in the description, you can get $10 credit towards your first deployment of a VPS. So that'll get you started for the first month for free or so. So take a look at DigitalOcean as well. And other than that, I think those are all the links I have for you at this point. Definitely also take a look at another thing is to encrypt your disks. I like to use a disk encryption utility for Windows called VeraCrypt. And you can go to, I believe you can just get it from SourceForge. And this will allow you to encrypt a disk and create pretty strong security for that disk, and password protect it. More or less, when you do that, you create a file that is 50 gigabytes or however big you want to encrypt a disk as the size of it. And what you can do is then once you unencrypt it, you can then mount it. So then it would just be an A drive or a C drive or whatever drive name you want to put on it, and you could keep all your wallets in there. And it just gives you another way to encrypt your files and kind of add another layer of security. The other thing that I like to do is then when it's not mounted and it's just that 50 gigabyte file, I will use fbackup to back up that VeraCrypt to other external drives so that I have a encrypted drive. It's just one file that you have to back up then, that VeraCrypt file, and it will have all my wallets in it and stuff like that in there so that I can back it up onto some external drives as well, just in case my main drive did actually go down. So check out those couple of utilities here, and they're pretty awesome. Hopefully our install is almost done. Once it's done, we'll get started with the rest. All right, so the next step we can do while we're waiting for the rest of that stuff to kind of download on the VPS is go ahead and make sure that our Masternode address is all set up and that our 1,000 coins are active and ready to rock in that specific address. So you can go ahead and use your wallet here and go to the tools and the debug console. And when you get that open, we can go ahead and open up this debug console, and you'll be able to get into a couple tabs here. And if you want to take a look at all of the commands that you can run, you can hit help and see all the different things that you can do. And you can essentially run your wallet and do all the things you would need to do from this console instead of using, the GUI. But we'll go ahead and get things set up here. So the first thing we're going to do is generate a private key for your Masternode. And there's a Masternode setup guide that's kind of basic that's on Omega's website that you can get to from just masternode.html. Is the area where the guide sits on their site. So if you go there, you can kind of see some things as far as like if you're using Linux and stuff that you could use from the CLI. So it's essentially the same as what you would do here, but instead of doing this ./omega-d, you're just going to type pretty much these commands here. So I like to go ahead and kind of like save some of this information. So what I'll usually do is just create a text file while I'm setting it up. You can delete it afterwards, or you can keep it safe in an encrypted location, but we can go ahead and go through these and just set up a new file. I like to use Visual Studio Code for a code editor, but you can use anything. Here is the links for your VPS if you want to go to those, and I'll just include this text file as well with the video. And this is where we can just record our different keys and things like that so that we have them as a reference. So go ahead and let's go to our Masternode Gen key here. Tools. All right, that's going to be our private key right here. So go ahead and copy this guy out. So masternode private key, we'll just throw that here. And then a masternode address, we can say get account address, and then you're going to use like some sort of name for your masternode address. So it doesn't really matter what it is, but it just needs to be some sort of name. So get account, and this has a nice little thing there. So oops, get account address, and then you need to put in a name for your specific masternode. So we'll just call this masternode test 1. Maybe I need to do, there we go. You can't have spaces in it. So mn-test1. So that'll be our address for that. So you can go ahead and copy that out. And then we'll go here. So our masternode address, use that. And then, like I said, we're going to masternode test 1. Okay. So now you can go ahead and use this masternode address and send 1,000 coins to that address exactly. So if you go in here and we send to address, oops, so doing that, send to address, and then we need the address itself with quotation marks. Okay. And then we want to make sure that we're doing, with quotation marks. And then we want to make sure we're sending exactly 1,000. We're going to do quote, quote, space, quote, quote, space, false. All right. Oh, I need to unlock my wallet because the wallet is currently unlocked, or currently locked, I believe. So let me go ahead and unlock that since it's currently locked and encrypted. All right. Okie doke. All right, let me unlock my wallet real fast. Now, if I put the same thing in, we get that sent out. And you'll also underneath see a transaction ID, I believe, which we'll put that out. And then the next step here, so we've got pretty much, we can close out our, if you want, we can say get received account, right? And then we'll put in that address again, the masternode address. It says 0. Oh, it's probably because it hasn't confirmed yet. It's going to have to just kind of confirm the amount. So once it confirms, then you can validate that it has been received by the master node as it shows here. And then we'll start getting our configuration file opened up. So we got our private key and everything. I think we should be pretty well set up here. So now if we go back to our wallet here and go to Tools and open our wallet configuration file, it should open up on whatever code editor you like. Oh, I also have Atom installed, so it's opening it on Atom apparently. So we have it should be your Omega Coin .config file, CONF file. So this will probably be blank at first. And so what we'll want to do is put in all of the pertinent information into this. So it shows that this is the config file that we're going to want to put in. So we can just copy all this stuff. I already had it in, but we'll just drop it in here again. All right, configuration. So now we're going to need to put in a few things here. So in the RPC user area, you're going to need to put in a username. And then in the password area, you're going to want to put in a password. And obviously you want those two things to be secure and, memorable or whatever. You can leave the RPC port and RPC allow IP and all this stuff in here. Make sure Masternode is set to 1. And then your remote machine's IP address is going to go here. And then the Masternode private key is going to go here. So we got our private key just a second ago by generating that. So that's what you would take, and once it's generated, you're going to paste that in here. Copy that, put that in there. And like I said, we'll just say that. Really horrible, but that's fine. And then we're gonna, because I'm just gonna take down this Masternode after it launches anyways, and just to show you guys how to set this up. So now we need our remote machine's IP address. So if we go back to our VULTR account, we can take a look at that. Looks like everything's set up here. It's also going to have me type the IP address of the server in our PuTTY. So that'll be one thing we're going to want to put in the same IP address. So, which is nice. So I guess that's where it's gotten to on the install script. So IP address, this guy here, and then Atom. We'll put that right there. Right? And we can go ahead and save this now that everything's been filled out here. So save that. We can also paste that in there. The private key, so it's asking the same information on the VPS as well, is going to need the Masternode private key for the node after you put your VPN IP in. So if we take a look at that, same thing, this private key here. And after you do that on your VPS, you should see Omega Coin Core server starting. And that will start the server, and it will be more or less ready to rock for that part. So now, still need to see that the confirmation has been set, confirming 5 of 6 recommended confirmations. Now, we don't need our debug anymore. Everything should be pretty well set up here. We're going to need to go to, so we've done our coin transfer, everything's set up in our debug. There is one more thing we need to do with our debug console. And we're going to go to we're going to get some information about your Masternode. So we're going to type Masternode outputs. All right, so that is our transaction ID, and then it also is our this we have to make note of this 1 as well. It'll either be a 1 or a 0. I think usually it's a 1. So this transaction ID is really the same thing you get when you send it initially. You get this transaction ID being output. So this is our transaction ID. So we need to copy that. And we might as well just say TXID, and we'll just put it in there. And then the transaction, I can't remember what the transaction, it's binary kind of 1 or 0 is. So next we can just go into, so we did our Omega setup. We do need to get Sentinel also set up on the VPS. So we'll just take note of our transaction ID and this transaction, whatever it is, binary thing. And then we'll go back to our VPS here with PuTTY. And we're going to want to go to sudo apt get y install Python virtual environment. So we'll kind of let it do that, and that'll install that dependency set. And then once that's all done, we're going to do a clone a repository to get our Sentinel for Omega Coin. And then I think pretty much most everything else should be ready to rock. We already did this for our wallet configuration. Okay, so this area here, we're going to get set up. So this is where we need that transaction ID and then the 1. So if we go in here to our wallet, because it's still setting up the virtual environment, and we go to settings or tools and then open Masternode configuration file. All right, so it should look like this. So I think usually it gives you this example config. So our alias is what we called it. We wanted to call it mn test1. So that's the first thing that goes in here. All right. And then our IP address. Which is, right, let's get right here. Which you can get also from your VPN dashboard. And then we're going to put our port, which is 777, I believe, or 477777. All right, now we need that collateral, Masternode private key. And then we need our transaction ID. And it's saying the index is what the 1 or 0 is called, the collateral output index. So the alias, the name you made for your masternode, the IP address and the port, the masternode private key, and then the transaction ID, and lastly the collateral output index, all just separated by spaces. So we'll hit save there, make sure that's saved. And so those files on your local wallet now should be all set up and ready to rock there. Got a few more commands to put into our local or our remote VPS here. So to do that, we're going to type this guy next after everything is installed. Or no, we're going to do the git command here. Then we'll run this. Now it's going to install the rest of the setup tools. And then a couple more. Quick downloading. And then the cron tab here. All right, so it's going to ask you to edit the cron tab here, or the select an editor. So I use 2 for Nano. It's really easy to use. 2. Now it has some different kind of like what kind of tasks that you need to run on your cron jobs. So if we just go into all of this information here, just copy this and paste it in. So all of these stars and everything you leave in there, that's exactly what you want right there. And then once you paste that into Nano, hit Control X, and then you'll see at the bottom, Save Changes, and you want to hit Y. And then it'll ask you file name to write, and then you just want to leave it the same, so you just hit Enter. Okay, so that's going to set up that file. Now we're going to change our Sentinel configuration. So hit copy and paste that in. And that'll do the same thing. Open up a Nano tab with our different Sentinel stuff in it. And then we're going to want to change where we have some Omega coin configuration. So we're going to delete the hashtag so that it's uncommented, and we're going to want to change this to just be root here. So no home, root. Okay? Because this is where our Omega coin configuration file exists right now in the root, so we want to make sure it matches that. So hit Control X, and then we're going to hit Y, and then we're going to hit Enter. So now that is set. Now if we run this last main command for that, most likely you'll get a error here that you'll see at the bottom. Assert 1777778 equals 111199998. So if that is an issue, you're going to want to go ahead and change this config file by running this. And then you just kind of use your arrow key to go all the way down here. And you'll find this last line here needs to get changed to 17778. 17778. All right, Control X, Y, and then Enter. And now if we push up, we can just get to our last command by pushing the up arrow and run this same test again. Whoops, sorry. We're going to hit the up arrow twice to run the test. So this test here, this guy there. So the command we're going to want to run. All right, 23 passed tests. So everything should test out, saying that everything works correctly, okay? So then at that point, we can go ahead and we've set up all of our PC user stuff here. We've gone through and set up our Masternode here. And that's pretty much it. So the last thing we're going to want to do after the VPS is all configured would be go into our masternodes here And there should be, now I should have tools. You might need to restart your wallet after you set everything up because it might not have the correct configuration info in there. So let's go ahead and restart our wallet. See if that does the trick. Since I had an old Masternode configuration in there, I have a feeling that, there we go. Now this one is MN test 1 missing, but if we start it, we should be able to get going here. So I need to unlock your wallet. I need to just finish syncing. Okay, so now it says that it successfully started it by right-clicking on it and just hitting Start Alias. You should see it in there. Now it says pre-enabled for me on this. It might say disabled at first before you start it. So just make sure it says pre-enabled. If it says watchdog expired in this status here as well, you might just need to wait a little bit. You can, wait, I don't know, usually 2 hours is more than you would need to wait, but it takes a while for your first reward to come in as well, mostly due to how many nodes there are now. So I will kind of keep an eye on this one, and you don't have to keep your Masternode up and running. You can, or not your Masternode, your wallet up and running to receive rewards. You can close your wallet down, and once you open it back up and sync everything, you'll get your rewards from there. So hopefully this helped y'all. If there is any other questions, I am in the Discord for Omega, and you can reach me. I believe my username is just devlife. So go ahead and give me a holler if you need to talk to me, and I should be in there most of the time when I have spare time. So hope you guys got some use out of this video, and I will talk to you later.